I remember after the aftermath of the event that took place in 2015, that the army came out with one bogus video where they suggested that their act was done to repel an attack. Anyone brandishing a gun. And yet, when all was said and done, at the public hearing, the Nigerian army admitted to having killed over 400 innocent persons. I and you know that this figure is not a true reflection of what actually happened in Zaria. Because I remember that even while the bogus cases they filed in court were still ongoing, and even today, there are still persons that have never been seen or heard of since after the events that took place in Zaria. So I and you know that the number of persons who were brutally murdered, massacred by the Nigerian army were well over the over 400 persons that the Nigerian army admits to killing. That life is sacrosanct, and nobody should take the life of another person except in the carrying out of an order of execution that has been made by a court where the person is found guilty of an offense. Here we are in this country that is a signatory with respect to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and a country that has domesticated even the African Charter on Human Rights that says that life is sacrosanct. And then you have members of our own army taking the lives of Nigerian citizens, innocent citizens, without any real basis. I don't want to go into the entire drama of what happened in Zaria. When I say it, sometimes people say I talk about these things in the way I talk about it because I was a lawyer of the movement. But it's not true. We have asked the court, why is it that the only video that we see is a video of a small altercation? Why is the army that claims that they were attacked and they had to defend themselves, why can they not show us one clip, one, where they were actually attacked? It is because the entire story of being attacked is a farce, it's false, and it was all put together in line with the agenda that we saw, which led to the killing of several persons in Zaria in December of 2015. Now, when I came, Doctor was making some very important points, and I will build on that point, on this issue of the right to life. I had the opportunity of meeting with Malam when my first meeting with him, along with Femi Falana, when we were trying to get the panel that was set up to investigate the events of what happened, you know, and the entire military thing and all that, violations of rights and all that. When we met with Malam, and he told us of all of the events that led to his ultimate capture by the army. Now, the truth of the matter is that if you don't believe that God exists, if you hear the story that Malam told, you will know that there is a being that is supernatural that protected him. Even if you don't believe that God exists, I dare you, even if you don't believe that God exists, when you hear Malam's story, because he told us firsthand the truth of the matter, and I say this with every sense of responsibility, When you listen to Malam, it was obvious that there was an agenda to end his life that day. Every effort was done. He was shot at point blank range, but the gun would not fire. Several times. When they discovered that they couldn't carry out their intent, I'm sure they got scared, because even if I was the one who was pulling the gun and I kept pulling and it was not having any effect, I would begin to ask myself certain questions. I assure you, that was why he was arrested or he was captured. If not, we would have been talking a different story. But we thank God that his plans are greater than the plans of man. We do not have a country that has respect for our lives. That was demonstrated in Zaria, and today it is demonstrated every day. It is demonstrated every day as we see the lip service that government pays when it comes to the protection of lives and property of its citizens. Now, apart from this issue of the right to life, there was also the issue of inhuman treatment of the victims who survived the army attack. After the army had finished doing what it did in Zaria, it arrested over 300 persons, including women and children. Now, the army deposited them with the police, and the police brought them to prison. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are not aware, but I'll say it today, that there were several persons taken to prison who had suffered gunshot wounds that were never attended to. At least one or two of them died in prison because their gunshot wounds were never attended to. Is that a country that cares about your life? No effort was made to treat them. In fact, when I was going to prison to visit them, sometimes it seemed as if it was a movie you were watching. Because here are persons with gunshot wounds. No effort at all to manage their problem. I remember a particular person who suffered some burns to his body